Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Joining us for this Masters of Energy Transition info session. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, or at least it's this afternoon for me. I'm sorry if it's the morning for you. I think there's somebody joining us from Hawaii. And actually, I'd love to take this opportunity for you to tell us in the chat, as long as I enable it for you, um, to tell us where you're joining us from, and anything else that you'd like to share about yourself. We'll get started in just a minute. We'll let a couple more people join us. Welcome from Canada. Fantastic.
Oh, wow. All right. Philadelphia and Grand Bay and Spain. Probably
Fantastic.
watching some Olympics. This is great. Austria, Singapore.
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks so much for joining us today. And we'll just get started. So yeah, we'd love to know who you are. I'm Madeleine Bothe. I'm the Recruitment and Admissions Manager here at the Irving Institute at Dartmouth. I'm really excited to talk to you about the Masters of Energy Transition today with some of my colleagues, and I'll introduce them in just a minute. But please feel free to, if you've just joined us, put your where you're joining us from in the chat. Then we'll move down into telling you about why now? Why is it important to undergo the Masters of Energy transition here at Dartmouth? And why now is the best time to do that? We'll tell you more about the Irving Institute and Dartmouth College, along with the curriculum, interdisciplinary projects, and experiential career tracks that we do during this program. We'll tell you about our faculty and the mentors that mentor some of our students, and a little bit more about Dartmouth and the Masters of Energy Transition staff. We have a whole group of amazing people who make sure that this program is fabulous. Then I'll tell you more about the application and the admissions process, and there'll be a question and answer session. And you can feel free to put questions in the Q&A throughout this presentation. So thanks again to everyone who have joined us today. We're very excited to talk to you about the Masters of Energy Transition. So I'm here with some of my amazing colleagues, Professor Geoff Parker, Dr. Amanda Graham, and Dr. Megan Litwhiler, and then a little bit, and you'll hear from me as well. So with that, we'll get started and tell you about why the Met and why now.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Madeleine, for getting us started, and to everyone for being here. My name is Amanda Graham. I am the academic director here at the Irving Institute and director of the MET. And the MET that you are keenly interested in is the result of a number of years of planning and review to try to understand really what the market needs and how that dovetails with what Dartmouth is really good at. And so we've crafted a program that is really pointed at preparing early stage career folks to be able to stretch their hands across all of the dimensions of energy systems and energy transitions and help us to catalyze and lead towards a future where our energy systems are more equitable, they're more sustainable, they are more efficient, they're economical, they're affordable. So all of those good qualities that we need in our energy systems to rely on for our daily and weekly and monthly existence, how do we improve the execution of those according to those values? And why did we generate this program now? So that really does have to do with our global conditions. The world depends on energy. If we could go to the next slide, please. The world depends on energy for our modern functioning of society, and that energy, those energy systems are very heavily reliant on our fossil fuels. And while that has generated incredible health benefits and social and civic benefits and economic benefits for nations around the world, the benefits that we have accrued from that are not always evenly distributed. And the way the current system is configured, there are some challenges that we're really facing, and that is due both to climate challenges as well as to energy security challenges and geopolitical challenges. And so in our view, that means that we need to develop the capacity of our the next generation of leaders and professionals and scholars in that space to be able to wrap their head around the various ways they need to be able to work with each other, to work together across this complex, evolving, dynamic landscape. Energy transitions are in very different places in different parts of the world, but there's no question that nations and corporations and municipalities are shifting and changing how they use and source and supply energy, and we want to help people be responsive to that. In connection with that, we see the employment future as positive, right, in the energy space. Energy jobs in the clean energy space have been growing at a significantly higher rate than the overall labor markets have been growing. And while labor markets everywhere are complex and evolving and changing, the job market is a real moving target right now. There are numerous opportunities for the kinds of people that we're trying to train in the master's program to have a significant impact on our ability to move our societies and our businesses forward in those energy transitions. And so this market for skilled talent and those skills being across disciplinary perspectives, across methodological skill sets, is on the rise, continues to be on the rise. And so what did we craft? We created a program that is intended to be short and intensive, because what we want to do is to help you get out there into the workforce as quickly as possible, but with a training, right, that responds to those, if we say, market conditions. So it's a 9-month master's degree program. It is a fully professionally oriented degree program. There's no thesis requirement or major research requirement. The requirements really rest on our curriculum and our co-curriculum. So we have 9 courses, and we'll share a little bit more in a minute about sort of what those courses covered. And it's targeted for folks who are new to the space, who are keenly interested in putting themselves to work in the space, but who don't necessarily have the background on the complexity of energy systems in all of its political, technical, social, economic, and finance details. We welcome students from all disciplines and from all sectors, and it's important to note that this is a STEM designated program, and so international students are eligible to apply for STEM OPT as graduates of the MET. So handing the ball over for a little bit more detail on who we are and how the program has been designed.
Thank you so much, Amanda. So I'd like to zoom out a little bit and tell you a bit about the Arthur L. Irving Institute for Energy and Society, and that's the organizing body for this degree program. At a high level, our mission is to accelerate an affordable, reliable, and equitable clean energy transition for the benefit of society. And the vision, and this program fits directly into that vision, is to bring about a multidisciplinary community of researchers, experts, citizens who will lead the decarbonization of the global economy. If you switch to the next slide.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're incredibly fortunate to reside in a beautiful new building that sits at the crossroads. We're literally on axis with the School of Arts and Sciences and we sit between the Tuck School of Business and the Thayer School of Engineering. And that's by design, much as the way our programming is by design. Even our physical location speaks to this notion that we're trying to create multidisciplinary collaborations and bring about interactions, projects, inquiry, scholarship that wouldn't otherwise take place within disciplinary silos. And so, to that end, we have quite a group of people that are co-located with us. So we have the Dartmouth Office of Sustainability. We have the Revers Center for Energy Sustainability and Innovation. That's part of the Tuck School. We have the Climate Modeling and Impacts Group and a number of Thayer School of Engineering faculty and research offices and labs. And because people get hungry and they often need perhaps some caffeine. We have the Fern Cafe, which keeps everyone topped up. And the space is lovely. And so we have open work, study, and collaboration spaces that are open to all of Dartmouth. And so we find ourselves as a home across campus. Megan, I think this might be you.
Pass it over to Megan.
Yes, thank you, Geoff. Um, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of some of the key elements of the Met, and then we'll dig into the program in a little more detail after that. So the Met is unique in a lot of ways. There are four sort of key aspects here that we'll highlight. And one that we've mentioned is the multidisciplinary coursework. So this is, it's not an engineering degree or a policy degree or an MBA. It is a Master of Energy Transition. So no matter what your specialty is or what sector of energy you're interested in moving into as your career, or if you're going on in academics, the program, as Amanda said, builds your capacity to work and to communicate or collaborate and strategize across all of these sectors, and then be able to integrate all this diversity of knowledge, and that will amplify your ability to kind of lead and integrate in a wide range of energy careers. And a lot of our partners from across the energy industry have really stressed that the value of this kind of interdisciplinary knowledge and literacy is really valuable, and it's a huge asset on the job. Um, and those partners and our really incredible group of energy alumni that we have at Dartmouth, they've not only helped us to research and build this program, but they're also a really key element of the program itself. So throughout the 9 months of the program, Met students are all directly engaging with a really big variety of top energy and leaders and scholars. And before the program even gets started, each Met student is very thoughtfully paired with a mentor from our alumni advisory board. And we'll showcase a few of those folks in a little bit. But the students have an opportunity to grow their relationship with this mentor throughout the 9 months of the program. And a note about our board members and our energy alumni, they are so dedicated and enthusiastic when it comes to working with students and supporting students. It's really pretty incredible. So students don't really have just one mentor during the program. You sort of build this personal committee of mentors who are all dedicated to supporting you and helping you succeed, which is pretty special. Um, and also students, of course, work really closely with our incredible world-class energy and climate faculty. And there are a lot of other opportunities to network more broadly through special events that we offer, distinguished guest lectures, workshops, and then our career treks, which we'll hear more about as well. And all of these things, they support our students' career journey, and then they also help to broaden your energy knowledge of the whole landscape of energy transitions. So it also supports and aligns with the curriculum as well. Um, and then one more element that I'll mention here is the real world experience that you gain from our project-based coursework. And so there are hands-on projects with real stakeholders or real data that are built into a lot of the courses. So almost like a series of kind of mini internships that you complete along the way. Um, and so now I think we're going to move on to going into a little bit more detail on some of the elements of the program. So again, we have this multidisciplinary curriculum. So what does that look like? So there are three core content areas of the Master of Energy Transition. Each has three courses within it. Um, so we have technology of energy systems, business and economics of energy, and science policy and impact of energy. And so the program runs for three terms, three 10-week terms, fall, winter, and spring. And each term has three courses, typically one from each content area. So you're not taking like each content area at a time. It's spread across the program. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of integrate and make connections across these core areas as you progress through the program. So for example, this fall, the students were taking technology of current and future energy systems, data analytics for energy and climate, and energy systems modeling. And then moving into our current winter term, we have oh, sorry, I'm reading these wrong. We have for the fall, they had technology of current and future energy systems, team dynamics and professional communications from business and economics of energy, and then climate science and the energy transition. For the winter term, they're moving into some more quantitative content, data analytics for energy and climate, energy markets and economics, and then energy law and policy as well. And then coming up in spring, we have energy systems modeling, finance and accounting for the energy transition, and community and global resilience in energy transitions.
So
So I'm
I'm
going to
happy
pass it
to
over to Amanda.
jump in. No, I'm happy to jump in at this point, yeah, and chat a little bit about that project based element of the courses. Now that Megan has given a sense for the breadth of the curriculum, what we try to encourage with our faculty is that they take as much of a real world and applied orientation to instruction as possible. Right, this is the chance for you to sort of have a learning laboratory where, in the space of one of your course, whether it's a technology course or a business course or a social natural science course, how can we ensure that we're bringing in elements of the real world to that learning experience? And in some cases, that's in the form of a stakeholder who is sponsoring a project and who is interested in the outcomes of that project for potentially impacting their business practices. In some cases, it's having a real world stakeholder who comes and serves as a judge of project presentations to give you real world feedback and say, hey, this is really interesting. And have you thought about these ways that you might optimize the deployment of the findings that you have for a project? And in some cases, it may be as simple as, I have a data set, right? Whether it's a, numerical data set or a business practice data set, and I'm really keen to see what you guys can figure out from, I have some key questions I'd like you to interrogate this data set of. So you may be working with real world stakeholders or with real world data. Or with real world, judges and experts. But in as many ways as possible, we encourage our faculty to bring that touch point in. This degree is intended to give practical experience, right? Grounded in the conceptual work that's important, but always tied back to how will you use it? How will this inform who you are as a professional? And so if you go to the next slide, please, a few examples from our technology course in the fall. This will give you a sense of the range and the reach, right? And so we're engaging with our research partners, with our business partners to source a variety of potential topic areas, ranging from, how a restaurant operates to a waste to energy system to how the grid is operating and how we can diagnose problems in the grid. So a wide range of topical perspectives on energy system and energy system challenges. And so that variety and that sense of applied opportunities, really, we try to infuse that into each term of the program. So I think now I'm handing it back over to Megan to give a little bit of insight into our outside of the curriculum engagement.
Yes, thank you, Amanda. So a really great opportunity that we offer in the program are our career treks. And we're really excited to offer these. And our students so far have made so many new connections and really learned a lot about energy technologies and industries firsthand on these career treks. And they've made some really impactful discoveries about the direction they want to take in their careers. So it's a really great part of the program. The treks are optional for the most part, but they are very strongly encouraged for students. They take place during the winter and spring breaks, so you're not missing any courses or anything like that to attend. You can really focus in on the experience. We have had two treks so far this year and one coming up. So we did have one during the as part of our communications and team dynamics course, where we took a shorter trek to Boston for the Greentown Labs annual summit. So here students got to visit a leading energy and climate technology incubator. They heard pitches, they got to network. They also visited a wind testing facility and went to the Museum of Science to hear about how folks there are working with community partners on local energy and climate issues. And then over the winter break, we had a two-part trek that took the students to New York City and to Houston. So in New York City, among the many things they did, they visited Windscape and met with Equinox and Empire Wind professionals. They learned about wind projects. And then they moved on to Houston, which is a huge energy hub in the United States. So a lot going on there. And there, among the other many things they were able to do, they got to connect with a lot of Dartmouth alumni there who are in the energy sector through the Dartmouth Club of Houston. So really awesome networking opportunity for everyone. And then coming up this spring, the students are headed to San Francisco and Sacramento. They'll be touring utilities and data centers. They're going to be meeting with the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. So we're really looking forward to that trek as well. And for all of the treks, we have a lot of support from our advisory board members and from energy alumni. So students have been able to connect with opportunities for visits through them. They were able to in New York City visit JP Morgan, their infrastructure investments group. They've gone to Fervo Energy and some other places coming up in the spring. So really exciting opportunity.
Yeah, well, if you could just leave it there for a moment, Megan, because
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to get to go down and meet up with the Trek in Houston in December, and Megan noted how excited the alumni were to meet the students, and I just want to double down on that. They're thrilled. This is an industry that we have several thousand Dartmouth alumni who are involved in. And they love the fact that there is a program dedicated to understanding their industry and understanding its complexity, and then working on meaningfully evolving it. And so we had an event where 15 people showed up, or rather signed up, and I think we had 40 or 50 alums. So somehow word of mouth spread quickly, and it was a packed room, and the Master of Energy Transition students were really the hit because they got up and spoke and shared their experiences, and the alumni just peppered them with questions. So I think one of the things, and I've heard this quote, is, Dartmouth doesn't necessarily graduate students, they graduate alumni and alumna, and people who are then engaged with the college really for the rest of their lives. Um,
Yeah,
so.
I would love to just add that going to four different cities in the United States, you get four very different perspectives of the energy landscape, not just of the United States, but also of the world. So in San Francisco, you'll understand that the clean tech sector is impacted by global resources and global politics, and in New York City, the financing of different types of projects, so all over the world, not just in the United States. So it's just a really fun way to get a really dynamic perspective on the global energy landscape by visiting 4 different cities. And you get to travel with your peers, which is just so much fun. You get a really tight-knit group that way. Oh, sorry for interjecting there, but just had to chime
Absolutely.
in with my perspective. Here you go, Geoff.
Sure. So to make all this happen, um, we and Amanda in particular has really led the charge, have recruited a really special group of faculty. So we had Song Chen join us after her postdoc at Stanford as a new assistant professor of engineering, and she is leading the data analytics for energy and climate. And so that's a really critical skill set. And then we root it in energy and climate specific data and types of questions. Shushen Song is soon to be a professor, but she's spending a few years with us as a postdoctoral research fellow and is lecturing in our energy systems modeling class. We're very fortunate to have Krista Daniels. She's a resident scholar and lecturer who is teaching in our community and global resilience and energy transitions course. And that one, if you think about all these classes, they connect to various parts of the mission of the Institute. And so when we talk about the Irving Institute for Energy and Society, we try to make that real in both research and in teaching. And so sort of understanding the impacts of global and local systems and the resilience is a really critical component of that. Next slide. So another set of faculty. So we're very fortunate to have a finance faculty member, Charlie Donovan, who is expert and can really explain from both an academic, but critically from a practitioner point of view, just what it takes to line up the financing to make the transition happen. And to give you some idea of the magnitude of capital, over the next 5 or 10 years, we're looking at trillions of dollars of capital committed to both increase supply and also increase access and security, which by itself is automatically going to drive a transition and then needs to have people who are prepared to take their place in that. Our very own Amanda and Megan, they lead the team dynamics and professional communications course, and Chris Geiderman teaches climate science and the energy transition. And last but not least, and I mentioned Megan, teaching team dynamics along with Amanda. And then we have someone who literally wrote the book in energy law and policy and is a deep expert in the offshore wind industry, Elizabeth Wilson, who has divided her time between both the US and Denmark. And that gives her a really critical perspective on differential policy environments and sort of how that plays out in infrastructure development. And then last but not least, Junbo Zhao is an expert in grid and transmission modeling and teaches our technology of current and future energy systems, which is the course that really tries to explain the what of these systems from a technology point of view. What are we at today and where are we going?
Passing it back to Amanda here to talk about more of her mentorship program that we love.
Thanks, Madeleine. Megan mentioned this closer to the top of the program. We want to emphasize it here because we have such an amazing stable of alumni whose professional experiences really are across the full range of the sectors of society. So from business to government to nonprofit to academia to advocacy. And they are also across the range of energy technologies, energy sources, and they are keen, right, to add their expertise to the MET students. And so every MET student is matched with one mentor before they come onto campus, right? And that is sort of the seed or the core of their personal advisory council that we advise that they develop over the course of the master's program. And those mentors are really leaning in with our students to nurture their exploration process, their networking process, their discovery process for where they want to apply, helping them with mock interviews, helping them with connections, helping to debrief from interview processes. And so it's a very hands-on, very well-connected program of mentorship with our advisory board and alumni that then sort of casts their net out even beyond to their own, individual professional connections and networks. And as Geoff mentioned, these tend to be networks that really stick for years and decades. And so being able to benefit from that network, I think, is a huge plus for our master's students. In fact, we as Megan mentioned, MET students take 3 courses per term, and we talk about a 4th course, right? That students should really recognize as part of their experience, which is the development of professional skills and the capacity to do your job search effectively, right? So we really try to break down that process alongside of our students so that throughout the 9 months of the program, that is a part of your weekly and termly activities, is really to do that job hunt in a way that's helping you to refine your objectives and pursue your objectives as effectively as you can in this changing world. All right, thanks, Madeleine.
Thank you. So thanks to Geoff, Amanda, and Megan for giving us a little bit of a outlook on the who and the why and the what of our program. I'll tell you a little bit more about the where. As Geoff mentioned, our building is kind of plopped in between the Thayer School of Engineering and the Tuck School of Business, but still right in the center of the rest of campus. We're just a stone's throw from the major library, Baker Library, along with the other departments around campus. But really, this is where it's sort of the west end of campus. It's really new. It's really vibrant. There's a lot of students walking around, a lot of activity in our building. So it's a lot of fun to be this part of campus. I have to say that this picture was probably taken in the middle of summer. It doesn't look like that right now. We have a lot of snow. It's a little bit colder out there, although the sun is out today. We're expecting some more snow later. But our facilities team is amazing, and they keep our sidewalks clean. They keep our campus really safe and accessible in all weather. So that's really never an issue in this part of the world, which I'll tell you a little bit more about here. We're based in Hanover, New Hampshire, which is kind of right on the border between New Hampshire and Vermont, although we're in New Hampshire for sure. We're about 2.5 hours north of Boston. There are about 10 to 12 buses per day that go between Hanover, New Hampshire, right outside our door, all the way to Boston, to the major Logan International Airport, as well as downtown Boston. We are about 5 hours north of New York City. There are 2 buses a day that go from campus to New York City, so it's pretty accessible to get there as well. And we're about 3 hours south of Montreal, which is another, Montreal, Canada. We're very close to the border here. So, easy to get to from different locations, but a pretty remote part of New Hampshire, which is just really beautiful and a lot of fun to be in, which also enables our alumni network because people are here for a number of years or a little bit of time, and they can really make strong friendships and stay connected with each other. And our alumni are really dedicated to the college, which makes it that much better. Here is the rest of our energy transition program team. Jen St. Lawrence is the career coach. Jackie, Casey, and Beam are phenomenal parts of our team. Jackie leads the Tech to Market program and leads our Energy Ventures program as well. Casey is our teaching and learning coordinator, just makes a lot of stuff happen along with Beam in the MET program. They're friendly faces and really just want to enhance and make sure the student experience is the best it could possibly be. And so now a little bit of our application process. We're housed in Dartmouth Guarini School of Graduate Studies. Uh, and we accept online applications that are submitted through the Guarini School. So they really facilitate the application process for you. So when you do apply to the program, you will select the MET to be your desired degree program. And then you'll be prompted to submit other documents, essays, transcripts, letters of recommendation, and yeah, 2 essays. And we request that your letter of recommendation come mostly 2 of them from your college professors. We understand that if you're more than a couple years out of college, that might be a little bit more challenging, but it really makes sure that we get a good picture of your emphasis on your college education. And your third and optional fourth recommendation could be from employers, whether you do the community service or professional experience, anyone who can sort of vouch for your work ethic, if you will. We do not require GRE scores, nor are they accepted, so you don't need to submit those at all. We have passed our priority deadline of January 15th, but our final deadline for applications is almost in a month on March 15th. So I recommend getting your application started for now and then submitting additional documents as and when you get them, because some of them can kind of take a while to submit, including letters of reference. Speaking of, if you require financial aid, we request that you say that you need financial aid at the start. You'll be prompted to submit a CSS profile along with some additional documents to demonstrate financial need. And that will be requested through the same portal. However, that is not, your need is not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not necessary for your application. So I won't see that you need financial aid when I review your application at all. The tuition last year was just short of $69,000 or just over $69,000. The tuition for next year has not been announced yet, but that will be posted on our website pretty soon, I think, when the Board of Trustees makes their decision. So again, yeah, please consider if you're applying for need, make sure that you put that down at the time of application. And I'll put the link for the application in the chat in just a minute. And so now we have an opportunity for you to ask questions. So please submit your questions in the Q&A section of Zoom, wherever that is laid out on your desktop. But any questions are open. I can say that one of the top questions I get when I talk to students is, what do you look for in an application, or specifically, what do you look for in the essays? And the best answer that I can give is to just be true to yourself. Write an essay that is fun to read. I love reading fun essays, but also something that really shares something personal about you and why you want to join the MET program. Because that's something that nobody else can really answer, and that's just really, it comes from the heart, and that's what's really interesting to read and special about your application. So yeah, and I assume that that's the type of questions that will come through, but feel free to put any Q&As in the or questions in the Q&A section of Zoom.
And maybe while we're waiting for people to jump in, we can talk a little bit about the types of backgrounds that we look for. And the answer is a very wide array. So this is it's not an engineering program. It's not a computer science program, nor is it an anthropology program. We're actually looking to build what I like to call an orchestra of people who interact and learn both with and from one another. And so that's been something that's we're incredibly fortunate to have achieved in our inaugural class, and are looking forward to the growth of that going forward. But maybe Amanda, you and I can kind of talk a little bit about what that means in terms of the fact that we then have a pretty wide array of backgrounds and some specific skills, for example, in Python or in coding, and how we deal with that.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of a program that really recognizes that the knowledge that's needed in the energy space comes from many different sources, right? And so, our students have done a wonderful job thus far of, of helping to, coach each other in some cases, right? Where there's knowledge in one student and not so much in another. And that's really the beauty of a multidisciplinary cohort, right? Is that we have students who are in environmental studies or in history or in engineering or in physical sciences or in business and economic spaces. And that means that we're reenacting the kind of workplace that you're likely to be in, right? Because no matter what your disciplinary focus was as a undergraduate student, the premise of the MET is that you need to broaden that experience out so that you can do a good job of connecting with professionals from other spaces, right? And that you can do that translation of language between policy and technology or finance or data analytics. And so we really see that as a core strength of the program, and it's also really fun for our students to engage across those differences and learn from each other.
Yeah, I love that the Met is just a group of students who all have a passion for an aspect of the energy transition, whether they have experience in that or not, and they can all bring something to the table when it comes to debating, discussing, and working on projects. It's pretty special.
One frequently asked question that we often get is about scholarships, and in the financial aid space. Madeleine noted that we are able to offer a tuition discount of up to 40% based on the financial aid analysis that Dartmouth helps us to do. So that is our main the main source of support that can come from the program and from Dartmouth. Of course, students are more than welcome to apply for federal aid or other private aid if they wish. But that is the one source of support that we're able to supply to our students.
So I see a question from Kent Ferguson, and thank you for that. Talking about along with carbon reduction, that there's a need to look closely at byproducts of manufacturing, toxic or not. And that's a really good point. I think one of the areas that are of great interest are around the efficiency of industrial systems, or manufacturing, transportation, but also creating more closed and circular economies and closed loops so that the outputs of certain systems become inputs to others so as to avoid waste or turn that waste stream into a high value product that may sequester carbon um, in the process. So that's a really exciting area for development, for science, for entrepreneurship.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I think there's a question from Chuck about, is Dartmouth a yellow ribbon college? I would have to investigate that, and I'd be happy to follow up with you, Chuck, on that. I think it is a yellow ribbon college. I just don't know if it applies to grad school programs. Jeff, do you know that?
I don't, but I do
Okay.
know that we do focus on our veteran communities,
Yes.
and um, that's been quite a great population. I've had the good fortune of teaching a number of those students who've taken my classes, primarily from the business school. But yeah, I think that's worth running down, Madeline. Thank you.
Yep. I'd be happy to look into that for you, Chuck. Um, There's a question from Dolphy. Thank you for informative sharing. I deeply resonate with the program's interdisciplinary approach, especially having gone through a liberal arts college. I'd love to learn about any specific examples whereby the project-based coursework format at Met has given grads an edge when tackling real-world problems. What have employers said they loved about Met grads and they worked with? Well, I'll let Amanda answer this, but I think our advisory board has really emphasized this point.
Absolutely. So As you may know, the MET program is still in its first year of operation, right? And so we are still in the process of students are still in the process of securing their jobs. They're in the program now, so I can't say we don't have any MET grads yet. We will in June, but the employers have been really interested in the distinctiveness of the multidisciplinary approach that we have, right? That uh, it gives them a maturity of perspective, right? That if you've just majored in energy engineering, or you've majored in policy, or you've majored in economics, you just don't have the exposure, right, to the range of challenges that you have to wrestle with. So they have also all emphasized the employers that we spoke to while we were developing the program, the importance of real world experience, right? And so in the context of the short program, what we have done to build that in is via these project-based elements. And I think that the exposure that our students are getting is enabling them to be more conversant and have really great examples to talk through in the context of interviews and applications. We are as keen as you are, right, to gather those data on that connection. Geoff, I don't know if you want to say anything more
Yeah,
about
I'd like
the
to, yeah, let
experience.
me double down a little bit more on that. I mean, that's fantastic, Amanda. And one of the things that I've observed over the years, and I am a big proponent of bringing in outside organizations, whether it's private industry or governmental or, non-governmental organizations with tangible and specific problems that student teams can engage with. And then what I've observed is in the interview process in particular, often the interviews, according to students who report back, those interviews turn into project presentations because, they'll often, students will get asked, well, what did you do? And it's like, well, I worked with so-and-so organization and they had this interesting data set and a puzzle. And so this is how we thought about, first of all, investigating it and then the types of models or solutions or things that we went after. And then before you know it, half an hour goes by. And I had one student tell me, I thought I bombed that interview because we never got to any other questions. Um, and I said, I don't think that's how that went. I think that was exactly what they wanted to hear from you. And she was thrilled to report a week or so later that she did in fact land a job, of her dreams at an interesting firm for her. So yeah, that's been a really cool way to see how those projects can play out, for both the learning side, but also the employability side.
Yeah, thanks for that anecdote, Jeff. We have a question about whether we have a full scholarship program or not. We do not. We have a needs-based program where you can apply for up to 40% covered as a scholarship for the program. However, we have students that have looked externally for additional scholarships to cover the difference. And you could do that through the country that you're joining from or from private organizations. I think there's a number of them out there. We don't have a list of them, but students have sort of sought those independently and privately. And that's certainly possible for this program.
Yeah, and Bethel, I think it's a great question, and it really gets to the distinction between what we'd call a research-based master's program,
Hmm.
versus a professional master's program. And so in a research-based program, you work in a lab, you don't take very many courses, and in effect, you're an employee. And so that's how you come to a full scholarship. Um, the philosophy of a professional degree program like the Master of Energy Transition is really much broader, and it's to expose you to a number of different domain areas, and then really with the hope of sort of activating you and your interests and giving you the tools to then start to engage in a meaningful next part of your career. So I just think philosophically they're doing two different things.
Yeah. And by joining this info session, you have been able to get an application fee waiver. So you don't have to pay the application fee if you're going to put in an application for the MET program. And you don't have to sort of type in a code or anything. You just get it by using the email that you use to sign up for this info session for your application. it looks like we've come to the end of the questions. If there are any more, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A, or feel free to email me. Here is my sort of contact information. I've also put it in the chat. You can make an appointment through Calendly, and I'd be happy to have sort of a one-on-one with you over Zoom at a time that's convenient for you. Or if there's a time that you haven't found that is convenient, let me know and we can find something else on the schedule.
Two great questions just popped
Yeah.
in. Thank you, Dolphy and Emily. Geoff, do you want to tackle the international question?
Yeah, I love that question.
Hmm.
So, how steep is the learning curve? Uh, this is very deliberately an internationally focused educational program. So, although we are, of course, in the U.S. and of necessity, we have access to a lot of US-based examples and data. We're very deliberate in looking internationally because a lot of the kind of challenges and opportunities are as various parts of the world build out their energy infrastructure in order to support their the dreams and aspirations for a better quality of life, which often demands reliable and affordable energy supplies. So to that end, we're about 50% international students. And literally just today, I was in the energy economics and markets class, and they do some short presentations. And we had a student from Italy describing some of the challenges in their country, and then a student from Vietnam talking about a whole new set of policies that the country has implemented, um, and the way that they're thinking about transitioning off the primarily coal-based system that they have now, first to natural gas and then ultimately to renewables to achieve their decarbonization. And so I think it's hard to be in a better learning environment than when you have peers that are facing these issues in class with you.
I think that's really a important dimension, right, of our program, is that we're trying to leverage diverse specific contexts for the applied part of the learning, because their place matters so much, right? And while all energy challenges have technological and political and economic and cultural dimensions, how that plays out in different settings really does vary, right? And so we're trying to ensure that you have both those sort of core concepts and tools, and then a variety of experiences with how they combine in different ways in different places to give you that comparative advantage, right? From the ability to compare from one context to another effectively. So I do think that that's an area that we're really excited about. Um, in terms of uh, the specialization question, at this time, we do not have that opportunity to specialize. All of the MET students take this core set of 9 courses in order to ensure that, diversity and breadth of appreciation for the landscape of energy in all of those dimensions. But that doesn't mean that you can't use your projects in those courses to do a little bit of specialization. If you have an interest, for example, in electric vehicles, or if you have an interest in policy, right? There are ways to deepen your engagement in that throughout the curriculum, via the flexibility of the project element.
Yeah, and let me also add that there's a huge range of co-curricular activity on campus.
Yeah.
And we've got these wonderful kind of peer institutes, for example, the Rockefeller Center for Public Policy, and we have the Dickey Center, and we engage in quite a bit of joint programming. To give a recent example, we hosted a fascinating um, seminar and kind of fireside chat or panel discussion on sort of how to think about the Venezuela sort of set of events, the recent sort of U.S. action, and then what that meant both from a kind of a policy point of view and then from a markets and supply point of view. without sort of setting aside the feelings and the panelists, because they certainly had strong feelings about it, but they were able to set those aside and really delve into just trying to create some understanding of how to think about it. And those are the sorts of co-curricular activities that I think might create that way of specializing.
Exactly. I mean, another great activity that we're excited about, that's going to take place at the end of this month is a 2-hour workshop on the geopolitics of energy. We have a guest faculty member from a leading university in Germany who's with us during this term, and he's doing a special call out for our students to dig into some of the sort of underlying themes, but also some of the current events that we're all seeing that into which energy security factors, pretty significantly. So I think that that's going to be another great add-on to the curriculum this term.
And don't forget your fun workshop with that wholesale energy markets. That was just a couple weeks ago too. So there's a lot of
Right.
extracurricular and bonus programming throughout the
Right.
year that just kind of comes up and gets added into the year. So very intentionally though. A question about deferring an application or your admittance. Yes, that is possible for 1 year. You can do that if you are admitted and just can't arrive on campus on time for whatever reason. You can defer for a year. That is possible. Thanks, Dolphy. Okay, well, it looks like we're kind of coming up to the end of time. So we'll wrap it up here. But thank you so much for your questions and thank you for joining us today. And again, please feel free to connect throughout your application process. I'd be happy to help or answer any of your questions throughout. So again, thank you for joining us. Thanks to our panelists or my colleagues for joining me today. Really enjoyed having you here and good luck. Thank you.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.